Beautiful son. So, the beautiful Alan, I was looking, okay, here's Paul Cullen, Arclight, they've done about 7,893 plays over the last 5 years. You yourself are quite prolific. I don't know whether when Paul, your friend, sort of got together with you, was this kind of an absolute delight in your head, or was there any dread that this might be something out of my comfort zone?
No, absolutely not. No, I've been working with Paul and Ian Whelan since we were school kids. Like, Paul is a little bit older than me, but I was in school with Ian, and we all got together around drama. Like, we were all members. We all had the same drama teacher, who was Audrey Meredith, years and years ago. Paul didn't. Paul was with Don Sennett. But
Right.
we met at these kind of feshes and kind of poetry and drama competitions and made friends. So myself and Ian and Paul been working together forever. And if ever I'm doing anything theatrical, I'll do it with Paul or Ian. That's the way it's always been. We're in bands together. We put on plays together before. So when Paul was asked by Ross down in the Whale, you know, if he knew, you know, do you think anybody would be willing to do a sort of adaptation of a children's book? He said, well, Alan writes children's books. So he was on to me, and Ross said, yeah, Alan, yeah, because I would know Ross from being in it and so on. So I kind of half think that's what Ross was kind of hinting for. But he said it to me, and I said, yep, that sounds like a plan. And my shortest book was the book that I did for World Book Day last year, which was Molly Malone and Bram Stoker in The Curious Case of the Irish Yeti. Went to #1 in the charts, sold really well around World Book Day last year. And it's really short, so it's manageable. You know, we were thinking like a kid's play, you'd want to do about 70 minutes. You know, no interval or anything like that. Like, it's, you know, one day it could be expanded into a Vito or a Phantom, but at the moment it's a 70-minute musical with about 10 songs in it. So that was the shortest book I had, so that'd be the easiest one to do.
But the fact that it is, like, I know you had a huge amount of success, but Yeti was almost a phenomenon, really, when you look at it in regard that it had such a great impact, and as you said, #1, it's your biggest seller. That feeling that you know, you're kind of able to revisit it and have more fun with it, that must be quite joyful, that you know it's actually alive again. I can actually, you know.
Well, that's the thing with the World Book Day book. It sold for around 2.5 months around World Book Day, then it disappears from the shops completely. Like, it's gone completely. You can still get it in some libraries,
right? But
I really love the story, and it's like that. I just didn't want it to die, you know. I just wanted to do something with it, and I love the idea of a Yeti well, I don't want to give away the ending, but I love the idea of people being scared of the Yeti in Dublin. Especially in the olden days, like it's set in 1859, and, you know, it's all cobblestones, and it's all misty, and it's all very, very Dickensian. And Molly Malone and Bram Stoker being 11-year-olds chasing down this Yeti, I just thought was a really nice idea.
I always think with your books too, I always think that Roger Corman was a real believer in the title really kind of writes itself. If you get a great title, then you make a movie around that, because you know you've got this inspiration. I always find your titles to be so wonderful. I'm wondering if that's sort of part of what your kick is find something wonderfully evocative and then boom, I'm off.
Well, I think when I pitched the first book in the Molly and Bram series to O'Brien Press, I said it's got Molly Malone as 11-year-old, Bram Stoker as 11-year-old, and they went, we'll have it, what's it about? It doesn't matter what it's about, we'll have it. So the titles are sort of, can be a bit like, sometimes I'll come up with list of titles that you could call it, and O'Brien Press will pick one from it, or as what happened in the Sackville Street Caper, I think it was called, that was called so many different things. It wasn't called the Sackville Street, I think it was called the Dublin Castle Caper, because I like the castle and caper being alliterative. But it ended up having alliteration with Sackville Street. But they were very much of the opinion that it shouldn't be Dublin, because Dublin sort of, you know, if it's been sold in Ireland, people go, oh, Dublin again, and everybody in Cork, oh, I'm not buying that, it's from Dublin. So they don't want to kind of get rid of a market by tying it down to one city. So Sackville Street was a little bit more open, because, you know, and plus Sackville Street is the old name for O'Connell Street. It sort of gave that kind of, and a lot of people would know that, so it kind of gave that old kind of vibe to it. Double Trouble at the Dead Zoo, I came up with myself. It's all about people pretending to be somebody else and looking like somebody else and kind of passing themselves off. So lots of doubles in it. And it starts and ends in the Dead Zoo, which is National History Museum.
And I'm thinking too that for me, children's books, because I have a daughter and growing up, she writes now and she loved books growing up, and that idea that there's a sort of like comedy in the Oscars. There's a sort of it like it's not taken as seriously, and yet the impact is phenomenal. Like when it comes to a child's love of a book, and obviously we see that with Roald Dahl, with J.K. Rowling, so many people. But is that, I don't know if that for you is ever a kind of do you ever come up against that you feel you're in a different category from the literary world? They sort of feel, well, you guys are having lots of fun and you're doing your gigs. But
I don't worry about it. I mean, the children's book community in Ireland is phenomenal, and they're all such lovely people. I mean, we have Sarah Webb, who's one of my best friends in books. I befriended her when I started out. She introduced me to so many people. I have to say, and I was having this conversation I was out with Aoife Dooley yesterday, who is a brilliant graphic novelist for children. Fantastic person as well. But I was driving around with her yesterday, driving her to and from a lot of different events that I had set up for World Book Day, and we were having this chat. And we were both kind of...
Sorry, that easy to talk about. Go down to the most yappiest dog in the world to say hello to him. Yes, sorry.
I've got a yappy dog at home as well.
This is Lily, your Cocker Spaniel, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah.
There you go.
Very yappy dog. I
All
left her there.
dogs are great.
She was yapping as I was leaving, but then...
But sorry, I interrupted you there, yes.
I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, I was sitting with Aoife, and Aoife Dooley and myself were kind of agreeing that we've both been in children's books for a few years now, and we have never met anyone, either who's an author, or who works in a bookshop, or who is a publisher. Never met anyone we didn't like. Everybody, it's such a nice industry to be in.
Yeah.
I know I sound like an old hippie, but it's lovely.
There is a magic involved. Like, I mean, the very nature of what you're doing is to make a child feel that there's magic is there. And of course, the naughty thing is great. The humour is huge for kids. But within that, it's just believing. They go with it so much more than we tend to when we get older. We kind of lose that little bit of spark.
Absolutely. You tend to get a bit sniffy when you get older. And I do a lot of workshops with kids, and I find that they're just so open and so brilliant until they get to 6th class. And like 6th class, particularly after Easter, they get ready to go to secondary school, and they're kind of going, kids' books. And you can get around them eventually, like just keep on doing the comedy act, and you get around them eventually through humour. But they can be a bit tricky. But then when they go to secondary school again, they become first years, and they were at the top of the pecking order in primary school, absolute bottom of the pecking order in secondary school. So they are so willing to talk to you again. They're like, Alan, we saw you last year when we were in primary school. I thought you hated me. No. And that's brilliant.
So your own journey from, like a lot of people in bands, like liking art, getting into lots of different aspects of art, was there a key moment when you realised that there was a lot of fun to be had in this world, that you could do something here that might be...
Well, I mean, I've always been doing kind of... I've written comedy plays with Ian before, and I've done lots of comedy with Paul. We've been doing that for years and years, but I think when I realised what I actually wanted to do was when I had my own kids, and when they were quite small, I would tell them a lot of stories, and they read every book. I think they were actually reading Skullduggery Pleasant or one of them was reading Skullduggery Pleasant by Derek Landy. I was having nightmares about it.
Wow.
And this happened to me when I was a kid. It happened with Dracula. My granny gave me Dracula. I used to have nightmares about reading a really inappropriate book to give a 10-year-old, but I was having nightmares about it. And the same thing was happening to my kids. So I said, right, we're putting away Skullduggery Pleasant till you're a bit older, you're only 8, a bit sensitive or whatever. And I started telling them stories, and then I'd be making up I'd be telling them like the traditional kind of nursery rhymes, fairy tale story, but then I'd be making them up as well. And then I was thinking, when I come downstairs and they'd be asleep, I'd be thinking, could I make a little bit of money off this story? So I'd start writing down what I was telling them, draw little pictures to go with it. At the same time, I was doing, I was really into comics, still am. but I'd be making a lot of comics as well for older readers and teenagers.
Right, the graphic novel kind of stuff.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah. Very Hellboyish kind of thing by Mike Mignola, and I loved all the Alan Moore stuff and the Watchmen and all, and V for Vendetta, all that kind of stuff. So I was trying to do stuff like that, except it was a little kind of humorous, because I find I can't write honestly. I'm always funny when I write. I don't know why. It's probably because I'm funny looking. But I was writing a lot of comics as well. So then I started taking the ideas that I was telling the kids, which were, you know, kid friendly, and thinking, wonder could I make some comics out of these? So I started doing that. Then I got a few kind of gigs working with the Irish Times, doing cartoons for them, and cartoon strips for them. O'Brien Press had sold those cartoon strips in the Irish Times. At the same time, I was thinking, I wonder could I get into O'Brien Press? And I'd sent them some of my early graphic novel ideas. So they were kind of thinking about looking for me. I was thinking about looking for them. They asked me to come in, and I pitched them some of the ideas, and really luckily and to my great surprise, they went, yeah, these are brilliant, yeah, these are great, yeah, we'll publish this, we'll publish that one, I think I got about 4 or 5 different books kind of promised to be published on that day, and contracts were sent out the next week, and
how many have you published now? Because I was trying to figure out the number. Is it around 40, or am I?
Oh no, it wouldn't be that much. No, I think there's probably about 18 or 19, somewhere around that. Okay. I tell kids 20 because it's a nice round number.
Sure.
But it's I think
well, this time next year, I'm sure it'll be 40.
Well, I have another one coming out in April now.
Right.
That it's a classic children's book that I've adapted as a graphic novel. I've done the script for it, and a guy called Jason Brown, brilliant illustrator, has done the illustrations from it. It was his idea, so I have to.
Is this a cinema book? Or this
no. This is another one called 17 Martin Street.
Okay. Wow.
A classic book by Marlon Taylor. It came out about 25 or 30 years ago, and it's set during the emergency. So I love history, so it was right up my street to adapt it. And it's about refugees coming from Poland and coming from Czechoslovakia, wherever, during the Second World War, like escaping Hitler's Nazi, escaping the Holocaust basically, and coming to Ireland and the problems they have integrating. So it's really timely, as a kind of book about immigration.
And is this like a step for you into a new world, or have you been
I've been working in comics before. Yeah, right. I've scripted my own stuff,
right?
But I haven't scripted something. Apart from the odd short story, I haven't scripted anything this long for an illustrator to do.
Okay.
So it was kind of, the script was kind of, it ended up being a big collaboration between myself and Jason, because it was Jason's idea to adapt this first.
Right.
So I said, yeah, I'll help you out, and it became a big kind of, I'm writing it now, okay. And so it's coming out next month, and it's going to be lovely. I've seen the cover for it. The artwork.
And who's printing that?
Is amazing. It's O'Brien Press again. Yeah, O'Brien Press is doing it. And then my own book that I've just finished the first draft of is coming out in September, and that is going to be finished and done and dusted by June. So it's another, even though it's only the beginning of March, 4 months of to and fro. And I have a lot of graphics to do for that book as well.
Right.
Shane Kluski, my brilliant cover artist who did the cover for the Molly Malone and Bram Stoker books, all 4 of them. He's doing the cover for this one as well.
Oh, great.
I don't know whether I'm meant to be saying that, but anyway, he's doing the cover for that. I don't know whether that's top secret. I haven't signed anything, so sue me.
Okay.
But he's doing the cover for that one as well. I'm doing the inside. There's no real illustrations this time around. It's kind of inside graphics. Right. But it's set in 1937, about Irish cinemas in Dublin. So in 1937 there was like 120 cinemas in Dublin. Now I think might be, if there's 15,
I don't know there's that many. Yeah,
there aren't many. Yeah.
No.
But this one is set in one of them, and the cinema was a really important place then, because that's where kids went on Saturday mornings. They'd no TVs,
no video games, nothing. This was the way to go.
They had books at home, and that was the newspapers, the radio. That was about it. If they wanted to see a movie or see a cartoon, they had to go to the cinema. So this is what they do in the book, is And the other thing is about cinema is it was a melting pot. You know, you get kind of really posh kids going there, and kids who aren't so posh going there. So in my book, this really posh kid who lives in Merrion Square, and her name is Sylvie Pickering, and she goes to the cinema. I know it's a great name.
Nice.
Named after a very good friend of mine, older lady who passed away a couple of years ago, or last year actually. And I said, right, I'm going to use the second name for this. So she's called Sylvie Pickering, and she meets up with two other brilliant names from Sheriff Street, twins called Juno and Gem Divine, which I thought was just brilliant. Juno Divine and Gem Divine. I love coming up with names.
Nice.
And their friends Mario and Bren. Bren is Brendan Brennan, so he's called Bren Bren. And Mario's Mario Kelly. His mother is Italian. He's like, Mamma mia. So they are all movie fans. They meet up in the Grand Central Cinema. It's called the Grand Central Cinema Club. So they meet up in what they call the Grando, which is a real place. It's, if you know O'Connell Street, we have the big O'Connell Street Monument.
Yeah.
And just on the side of the road, what would you call it? The south side? No, the east side of O'Connell Street. Beside the little place where they sell the donuts, is a big archway, and it's got a bank in it now. It's like Bank of Ireland.
Right.
But in the olden days, it was Grand Central Cinema, and that archway had a big glass canopy coming out like the Olympia, except bigger.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best cinemas in Ireland and the best cinema in Dublin. We had Savoy up the road that was newer than it, but that's where they meet up. Sylvie goes one day, not on a whim, but she decides to go to a North Side cinema because she's been banned from the South Side cinemas by her mother, and she goes to a North Side cinema, and the first person she meets is Juno, and then she meets Gem, and then she meets the rest of the gang, and they just love the idea of making movies. Sylvie wants to be a director, and Gem wants to be a screenwriter, and Juno wants to be a stunt woman, basically.
Right.
And they decide one day we're going to make a movie, and it's all about that. And then there's because it's one of my books. There's a heist in it.
Yay!
In fact, there's two heists. In fact, there's a few heists, but the kids pull off two heists themselves, and then there's a bad guy in it, an international gentleman jewel thief called the Magpie.
Nice.
And he's going around Europe stealing different things for his collection. He doesn't steal because he wants the money or whatever. He just spots something, like sees it in a magazine and goes, ooh, I'll have that artifact. And he does his best to break into some, all dressed in black with a white scarf, so he's a magpie, and dresses like that and kind of breaks in. He knows all the tricks, and he's got a job that brings him all around different cities so he can do it.
I'm thinking the reality of most artists' lives, it's a struggle. I know that you kind of said when you first started telling stories to your sons, you thought, maybe there's a little money in this, and little money is the
little
key.
Money is the absolute word. Yeah.
So that idea that I know that you're an illustrator and graphic, you do like side work for some, like a small select bunch of clients. Do you ever think that the writing, the books would ever sort of be full-time kind of earners?
They're practically taken over my life now.
Great.
I think about 75% of what I'm doing is writing and doing events and going around schools talking to kids about writing. And a lot of that is through libraries. You're on the payroll of libraries.
Gotcha.
And they'll say, we'd love you to come to Balbriggan Library. I go, grand, and we set up the date and I go out. I get paid to do it through payroll, so it's brilliant.
That's got to be joyful, because I know a lot of artists, and from musicians to painters to writers, just the dream of being able to actually make a living from it is kind of a dream.
Yeah, you can almost make a living.
Yes.
I still have to keep on doing a little bit of graphic
design.
And plus, I have a wife who has really well-paid jobs.
That will help. And you have 3 sons you're going to put to work soon as well.
3 sons, yeah. One of whom is going under his own steam, and he's moving out in the next month. So he's found somewhere with his girlfriend to move into. So he'll be gone.
We should wrap up now with the actual production. I don't know if you sort of feel like kind of first night nerves, whether you'd be sort of fairly kind of used to like releasing books, so it doesn't kind of get to you, or I don't think. I mean, I've been in loads of productions myself. Like I was telling you, I met the lads through drama years and years ago. I still do a little bit of acting now and again. I was in a play in The Whale
that Paul directed last year called Upper Fourth of Blighton Towers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Really enjoyed that.
Yes, yes.
I loved doing it. I never get nervous before I get on stage or before I go out to see a bunch of kids. For instance, this morning I was out in Clonsilla, and I was in a hall with about 120 kids, and it's like grand, yay! Like a big loud voice, and I'm talking a big loud voice, and the Brian Blessed of children's books in Ireland. But I don't have a problem doing it all. I don't think I'm going to be nervous if this is going on. I've been to loads of the rehearsals now at this stage. I've loads of graphics to do for it. We have a big. It's not complicated, but we're using a lot of back projection.
Okay.
It's a small cast. It's 6 young people in the cast. The oldest about.
And they do a few multiple roles and stuff. As
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
So
The guys playing Molly and Bram are just Molly and Bram, but the other
Yes.
characters, the Sackville Street Spooks, Molly's gang, there's 4 members of it, and they're all playing different roles throughout the
Good old
thing.
ArcLight seem to have. They seem to have. They're on a like a very good kind of feed of getting their plays out there. So I
Yeah.
would hope that this might actually travel. Then would it
I
be?
would love it to. I'd love
Right.
it to. In fact, in this case, ArcLight cast the net quite wide to find a cast, and we,
Okay.
or Paul, who's in charge of all of that and is doing
Yeah.
such a brilliant job, he sort of put out an open casting call for it. So we have new blood coming
Nice.
into it who
Right.
we don't really know very well, and they are all brilliant.
Right.
And the songs are brilliant as well. Like I just wrote the lyrics, but their music was done by
This is D. Cullen, the
D.
son.
Cullen,
Yeah.
yeah, who
Well,
was
the Cullens are
Paul
like
Cullen's
the,
son.
like the Osmonds of Salt Lake City. They just seem to have like this,
Oh,
like
stop.
a whole little kind of operation of
Yeah,
like the whole family's
I don't know
involved.
who little Jimmy Osmond is. I have no idea who
I'm
Maria
sure he's
Osmond is.
I'm sure he's prime. I'm sure D. Cullen would have felt he was
yeah, it
little
probably
Jimmy
was
at some
little
point.
Jimmy, yeah,
Well, listen, we'll put the ticket link up above, and also a link to your website.
Brilliant.
You've got like 2 or 3 books out this year now. Then hopefully, like if
well, yeah.
all going well. So
Yeah.
again,
Oh,
people can
fingers
keep an
crossed.
eye and
Yeah.
and just congratulations. A lot of
Oh,
great
thanks,
stuff.
Paul. No, I'm delighted. I'm really happy to be doing it. You know, it's such good fun.
Boom. Now.